Hey guys, my name is Justin Klambala. Thanks so much for coming to my channel. I'm very excited to share with you kind of a humongous secret and a humongous discovery that I had when it comes to teaching the game of golf and actually gaining like the most consistent results that I've ever seen on my lesson tee and with my students. And I'm very, very excited to share with you this idea today. Before we get started though, if you haven't already, please click on the subscribe button down below and the bell button just next to it if you want to see more future videos from me. And also, if you like this video today, go ahead and click on the like button as well. That would be really help me out a lot. So let's jump right into it. So the key that I have found to kind of the three things that most people want to get out of the game of golf. So particularly when it comes to full swing, but really almost any shot you have in golf, you're looking for three things. One, consistency of contact. Two, the direction control, hitting the ball straighter or in the direction that you want it to be hit. And then finally, three is power. And this kind of discovery that I have come upon that has helped all three of these is what I like to call hands and arms dominant swinging. Now, the first time that I kind of came to know about this style of teaching was my years of working with Jim McLean. Jim McLean is a big mentor of mine. I worked for him for 6 years, and he wrote a book called The 8-Step Swing Book. And in that book, in chapter 9, at least in the third edition of the 8-Step Swing Book, in chapter 9, he talks about two swing camps that he teaches out of. One is where he teaches more of a body initiated type of swing, and then also a hands and arms dominated type of swing. So the hands and arms dominant swing was in his book that I read about 6 years ago. Um, it's where I found out that it was actually okay to teach somebody to use more hands and arms in their swing. Now, classically, if you've been in golf instruction a lot, hands and arms have been kind of considered something that you don't want to use, right? So being handsy or flippy in your hands, the most common thing that most people have always talked about is the flat left wrist. Flat left wrist being that when you come through, you want to feel like this left wrist is nice and flat and the right wrist is nice and bent at the moment of impact. No matter what teacher I've ever worked for or any book I've ever read, flat left wrist has always been a very, very common thing that everyone has always tried to strive for, especially at impact, having that nice flat left wrist. Super, super important. So the idea of teaching someone to throw with their right hand or be flippy has always been considered like the cardinal sin. You do not want your students to do that. So a lot of times I kind of fell into, especially in the earlier part of my teaching career, I've been teaching now for about 12 years. And the beginning part of my teaching career, I was all about trying to get people to get more body into it because it's, as you can see here, when I get my body into the golf swing, I can actually keep my left wrist flatter longer. When I have a club in my hand here and I swing back and I come through and I can kind of turn on the ball, it keeps my left wrist flat. Where if I kind of stop my body, it tends to flip my hands. So this has always been my style of teaching. So trying to get people to use more body to try to get that left wrist nice and flat coming through the ball. And that was always historically kind of the philosophy that I kind of fell behind. 3 to 4 years ago, I went to a seminar of a top teacher, top short game teacher named Stan Utley. And what he showed in his seminar was how he taught chipping. And it really kind of sparked an idea in my mind based on how he showed that he taught chipping. And I'm going to show you right here kind of what he said during that seminar. So what he said in the seminar was that he would line up a couple of golf balls just like I have here. And what he would do is he'd have the player not take the wedge to chip like we normally would with the club at the bottom. He'd flip it upside down. He'd have the student flip it upside down and then actually have them hit with the grip end. He'd have the line of balls lined up behind his right foot. So you can see here that the line of balls is behind my right foot here. And he would have the right wrist a little bit bent. And what he would do is he would just ask people to kind of be wristy and flip with his wrist and just go down the line and into the green. This like totally like threw off a light bulb in my. A lot of the students were able to hit this super small ball with the grip end of the club. So that's like the other end of the club there, that is much smaller and much harder to hit the golf ball. But all of a sudden, these students were able to do that. So it started getting me thinking. Okay, what if I go back to kind of my original mentor's book, Jim McClain, and use the one camp that he says that he teaches from, which is the hands and arms dominant camp, and start actually teaching that to people. And really what it ended up starting off as is that I just started teaching people to just be more handsy, just use more hands to hit the golf ball. And it was amazing. The moment that I gave permission to my students to start using more hands when they hit the golf ball, the consistency of contact went through the roof. Went through the roof. It was unbelievable. But what a lot of people didn't realize is that when I started telling them this, they kind of looked at me kind of shocked, like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, you want me to be handsy? Every other teacher I've ever talked to tells me this is the worst thing I should do. And it made me a little bit nervous. I was very nervous to start teaching this way because it got people to think about kind of like being too handsy and everything like that. So I got nervous that I might be going down the wrong route, because any player that I've ever seen before kind of swing, they never looked handsy. And that's basically what I was telling people to do. So what ended up happening is that when I asked people to be handsy, this is the image that I would have them think about. I would ask them to make swings looking like this. And as you can see, this looks very, very hands and armsy, right? So not a lot of body and just a lot of hands and arms. So that's the image that I would ask people to try to kind of copy. However, when they go in to do that, they ended up not looking like this. What they ended up looking like was more like this. They didn't look hands and armsy. They looked like they were doing a very, very proper body sequence. So what ended up happening is that they started feeling more hands and arms, but they showed on video that they were using more of their body, like I showed in that last swing. So they were using more of their body when they came through. So what's the explanation behind this? Why, when I ask a student to go hands and armsy, why do they end up using more of their body when I ask them to do that? And the reason is similar to an idea that I like to show, which is picking up a golf ball off the ground. So I have a ball on the ground here, and I'm going to try to go pick up this golf ball. When I go to pick up the golf ball off the ground, I pick up the ball absolutely perfectly. Now, historically, I think golf instruction has always kind of, when going to teach people how to swing a golf club, what we've done in the past is that we've watched great players swing the golf club and study everything that they've done. So if we take a look at a golf swing, like a really good golf swing, what we typically would see is that, a lot of good players have kind of this one piece takeaway at the halfway point here. The right arm is a little bit above the left arm. At the top of the swing, typically the shoulders will have outturned the hips. On the downswing, well, you typically see lower body starting the downswing and holding on to lag, which is the shaft in the left arm. Coming into impact, the left wrist is nice and flat with the shaft leaning forward. And then coming through, we'll see that the body has turned to the target and the right toe is pointing in the ground. So historically, I've always tried to teach those types of ideas. So when we look at the picking up of the golf ball here, whenever I go to pick up a golf ball, I just think about where my hand needs to be and I go pick up the golf ball. But if you notice everything that actually I do to pick up the ball, I actually do a lot of body stuff. So when I go to pick up this ball, I kind of bend my right knee to a certain amount of angle. I bend my hips to a certain amount of angle. My right shoulder gets a little lower than my left, and my hand is naturally where it needs to be to pick up the golf ball. But historically, anytime I've picked up a ball, I've never thought about any of those body angles. They just naturally started happening, subconsciously working when I needed my hand to get to a certain place. So when I do that same thing with a golf club and I ask somebody to use their hands and arms to make a big loud swish, what ends up happening is that the body subconsciously starts to start to get more involved. So if you notice here in the backswing, if I did hands and arms only, I really couldn't get the club back very far. So when I ask my hands to go farther back to make a big loud swish, and I get my hands to go further back this way, I now start to get the coil, the shoulders out turning the hips. And then what I also have noticed too, when I ask people to really swish the club really loud coming down, from a lot of people having this historical feeling of when you go to throw a ball really hard that you actually have to end up stepping and throwing. When I give the key to the student to just think about throwing the club as hard as they can with a lot of swish, what their first initial instinct is to bump their hips. It's happened every single time, especially over the last 4 years that I've been teaching this. Anytime I ask someone to just throw the club with as loud a swish as they can, their left hip always starts the downswing, which is so crazy because historically that's what I've always tried to get people to do, is trying to get them to start the downswing with their hips. But I've had them focus on their hips. Now me focusing them on throwing the club and creating a big loud snap down there at the bottom, their hips subconsciously start that downswing without them even thinking about it. This is kind of the reason why I think hands and arms is the key to more consistency of contact, because that body starts to do what you've always wanted it to do without actually having to think about or telling your body to do what it needs to do. Just like I don't need to tell my body to bend my right knee, bend my hip, get my shoulder lower than my left shoulder and everything like that. I don't have to tell my body to do all those things. I just have to tell my hand what I want it to do, and that's to go pick up the golf ball. And as long as I go do that, the rest of my body just naturally falls into place. That's kind of the gist of kind of this secret or this hint of an idea that could help you become more consistent in golf. Using the hands and arms as the dominant force to try to swing and hit the golf ball could really help you gain more consistency. Now, the drill that I would really highly recommend to kind of get you to at least get a start on this is what I call the feet together drill. The feet together drill is just simply putting your feet together, and you're going to go try to hit a golf ball just using your hands and arms only, trying to keep your body as quiet as you can. Even though I talked about in this video that you're going to get some shoulder turn, you're going to get some hip bump, it's all subconscious. To you in your own mind, you're still going to feel as if you're just swinging only your hands and arms and none of your body at all. So that's going to be the drill that I would love for you to try. Feet together, hands and arms dominant swing, trying to hit the golf ball without moving your body at all. Give this a try at home, especially if you have a place that you can take full swings at home, or eventually when we get a chance to go back out to the golf course, give it a try there. But feet together, hands and arms dominant swing, and then throw down in the comments below and let me know how you did. If you did stay to the end of this video, thanks so much for watching this whole video, and give this a try and tell me your reaction to what it is. What does it feel like to you when you're doing hands and arms only? Did you get more consistency? Did you not? I'd love to hear what you thought about it, and I'd love to help you out with it if you have some questions about it. So please put your questions down in the comments. Let me know how it goes if you have to give this a try. Once again, thanks so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, click on the subscribe button down below with the bell button right next to it, and then go ahead and smash that like button on this video. It really helps me out. Thanks so much for watching, and I really hope this helps your game.